Hello, I'm John Sleeman, founder and chairman of Sleeman Breweries. Welcome to our Guelph location. The Sleeman family has a rich history of brewing here in Canada, and it all began when my great-great-grandfather John H. Sleeman came to Canada in 1834. Eventually he settled in Guelph, Ontario, because the water source was very closely matched to Cornwall, England, where he refined his brewing skills before emigrating. He established the Silver Creek Brewery in 1853, and from there our family brewing heritage thrived, especially when his son George Sleeman took over the business in 1867. As you may know, there are lots of great stories that have surfaced from the original brewery during the Prohibition era. But today I'm here to show you the unique brewing and packaging processes that we use to brew many of the recipes recorded in my grandfather George A. Sleeman's brewing notes. Here's how we make our premium ales and lagers. Beer is made from 4 main ingredients: water, barley, hops, and yeast. And we value finding the best ingredients possible to make our beer. Given that beer is about 90% water, we treat water through a UV system that will remove chlorine and a reverse osmosis system to remove the hardness found in Guelph water. We add salts back into the mash mixer to make the water chemistry suit the beer style being brewed. Malt from barley provides starch, which converts to sugars for the yeast to ferment. It also guides some of the aroma, flavor, and color of our brews. We use approximately 4,800 kilograms of malt per brew. Malt and water mixed within the mash tun at high temperatures creates a sugary liquid called the wort. You may have noticed our beautiful copper kettles in our brew house. We intentionally brew in copper like my family did many years ago, as trace copper is a micronutrient for the yeast. The next step in the brewing process happens in the lauter tun. The wort drains through a filter in the bottom of the vessel, leaving the grain behind. The spent grains are transferred to a holding tank and are eventually sold to local farmers to help feed their livestock, creating a circular economy with our byproducts. The wort is preheated using a hot water plate heat exchanger before it heads to the kettle and is boiled. A good boil is critical to making good beer. Hops added at or near the end of the boil helps enhance the hoppy aromas, which can range from pine to citrus. Boiled wort contains trub, which is made of protein, tannin from hops, and other materials. The trub is removed to protect the quality of the beer and is done in the whirlpool at high speed at 300 hectoliters in 16 minutes. At this point, it's time to incorporate our final ingredient, the yeast. The wort needs to be cooled before it goes into one of our many fermenters. During the cool-in, oxygen and yeast are added. The yeast eats up the sugar and creates alcohol, carbon dioxide, and other compounds that give beer its flavor. Throughout our brewing process, we have a quality assurance team dedicated to ensuring nothing but the highest standards and consistency of our brands. Once the yeast has fermented the wort into beer, our team from the lab steps in to analyze the fermented beer, and after rigorous tests, the fermenter is released. Next, we move towards the filtering phase, called fassing, to prevent haze and off flavors by removing the yeast. The beer is moved to an aging tank through a centrifuge that rotates at 4,300 RPM to separate out the yeast. The beer is cooled at minus 1.5 degrees Celsius en route to the aging tank, where it is kept at a set point of just below freezing. Beer is aged to enhance the flavor and to allow any remaining sediment to collect on the bottom to be filtered out. Once the beer is analyzed by our quality assurance team, we're ready to filter the beer. The liquid is then cold filtered and sent to the bright beer tanks. After analysis and released by our lab, the beer flows to our packaging operation to be put into cans, bottles, and kegs, ready for customers to enjoy. To increase our efficiency while we design products, we've created the Pilot Brewery to test small batches of innovative new beer styles. Many of these brands are then found in our seasonal mix packs. We have a unique bottling line, canning line, and kegging operation. Let me show you how these work. When I started this business, being environmentally conscious in manufacturing was not mandated, but we've always made it a priority. We've achieved an impressive 98% waste diversion rate, which refers to the number of recyclable materials that have been diverted from disposal. At the start of the packaging process, this is evident when we prepare the bottles. In Ontario, we're fortunate to be part of the beer store's recycling program. Ontario consumers participate in a 95% return rate, and each brewery receives a portion of the returned brown bottles. We receive all our signature Sleeman clear bottles and a portion of brown glass bottles. The cases are loaded onto the depalletizer. The bottoms of each returned case are removed, and the bottles immediately enter our bottle washer. Any residual organic material in the returned bottles is removed with high-pressure water sprays. After washing, the bottles pass through the automatic inspection system, using light refraction to inspect for defects at a rate of 500 bottles per minute. Bottles no longer suitable for the marketplace are removed from inventory and are recycled. Bottles are filled and capped using automated crowning equipment. Subsequently, the bottles are inspected again to ensure that they are filled to the required specifications or they are removed from production. Beer removed from the line is sent to our own on-site wastewater treatment facility. The bottles move to the pasteurizer, which destroys any beer spoilers that might remain in the beer after packaging to enhance shelf life and freshness. Recently, we installed a new pasteurizer, resulting in significant water savings during our manufacturing process. Since installation, we have recorded a savings of nearly 300,000 liters, which is the equivalent water savings of filling 40 Olympic-sized swimming pools per day. After pasteurization, bottles are automatically inspected for imperfections, appropriate fill level, and a secure seal. Next, they're labeled and date-stamped before being placed in numerous package formats for consumers to enjoy. This important process is remarkably efficient and fast. Over the years, we've seen a shift in consumer preferences, and cans have become a favorite of consumers. Brand new cans without lids are received on pallets and covered with protective tear sheets until going to the depalletizer to be unloaded one layer at a time. The cans are flushed with water and immediately filled. Next, they're capped by the seamer to securely close the can. Prior to pasteurization, the filled cans are rinsed. After pasteurization, the cans pass through the can dryer, which blows air from the top and bottom to prepare for packing. Lastly, we also fill kegs for bars, restaurants, special events, and home consumers. Beer coming from the bright beer tanks for kegging is flash pasteurized as it travels to our kegging station. Empty kegs are turned upside down for washing and filling. Then they're capped and ready for the market. And that is how Sleeman beer is made. I mentioned we use the finest of ingredients, but the real success of our brews is due to the highly trained, dedicated people working behind the scenes. At every opportunity, we work to eliminate waste. Thanks to our processes and engaged team, we're the only food and beverage manufacturer who has received gold standard 3R certification by the Circular Innovation Council. We also have our own water treatment plant to condition effluent water from our operations. Collectively, we care about the world we live and work in, and we reduce our footprint wherever possible. Today, we're Canada's third largest brewer with 4 breweries across Canada and staff from coast to coast producing diverse brands including Sleeman, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Sapporo, Okanagan Spring, Wild Rose, Unibrew, and Old Milwaukee. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to end this tour here in our retail store and tap room. In fact, we're bottling just outside the door. Hopefully you'll come back again and see us soon. Cheers.